So here we go. His eternal nature is to result in our awe and worship of Him rather than our intellectual understanding of Him. Please, that is so important. Again, when we think about God, He's more concerned in our awe and our worship than some kind of intellectual understanding. Because God does so many things, He calls them mysteries. And the reason He calls them mysteries is because it cannot be understood with a mortal mind. We cannot understand the Trinity fully. We cannot understand the rapture fully. There's a lot of things we're not going to understand fully. Even the mystery of salvation. There's some of the stuff we just cannot fully comprehend in our finite mind. Because God is infinite. All right? So, what you got to do is you have to understand there comes a time when, and this is one thing I have been studying over the last couple of weeks is how the early church fathers were fighting tooth and toenail over stuff like this. The guys, so we think about, look, we got a Bible. How many Bibles does most people got? I've got, it'll tell how many Bibles I got. I bet I got a truckload of Bibles. And on this thing right here, I can call up at this moment over 100 Bibles on this little deal here. All right? Now, Wycliffe was one of the first guys who came up with a Bible written in English in the 1500s, 1300s, 11, 12, 1300s, the high Middle Ages. He comes along and he translates the Bible. And you think, man, people really look up to him because he translated the Bible. But he also stood against the Pope and said that we don't have a Pope. God's our controller. You know what? He died of a stroke. So when he dies of a stroke, they bury him. One of his guys comes along and finishes carrying it on. The guy's name was Hood. When Hood carries it on, they carry him to a Constantine I'm trying to think of the word for it right now. All these fancy words that they have for all this stuff, but a council. They bring him before the council. They don't like what he says. He just goes to talk to them. Nobody knows this is going to happen. He goes to talk to them. They don't like what he says, and they burn him at the stake. And then they dig up Wycliffe from the grave and burn him. That's some rough stuff going on back then. We've got it so easy, and we don't take advantage of it.
Why were they afraid of him?
Very much afraid of it, because he was taking away the rule of the church. Okay? So, or the authority of
Inquisition.
the church. Yeah. And so here we go. Remember, God cannot be intellectually understood completely. God has to be accepted. I can't say it enough. God cannot be intellectually fully understood. He can't even be fully understood by faith. Because every time I think I got it figured out, He does something different. Every time I think I got to figure out how He's going to fix this problem, He does something different. So here we go. Before the mountains, Psalm 90 and 2, it says, before the mountains were born, or you were brought forth, and you brought forth the earth and the world from everlasting to everlasting, you were God. Before the mountains were brought forth, or ever you had formed and given birth to the earth and the world, even from everlasting and everlasting, you're God. In other words, there's never been a time when you weren't. There'll never be a time when you aren't. Before you brought the earth itself to birth, from once upon a time to kingdom come, you are God. Wow, I love that. From once upon a time to kingdom come, you are God. That's awesome. He cannot be understood. If somebody tries to get you in some kind of argument, you know, if I go to prison and I see one of our guys getting in an argument, or the prisoners trying to get him in an argument, especially the Muslims trying to argue with him, I just walk up and look at one of the guys and say, why don't you go minister somewhere else? And I'll jump on in. And what's worse than ministering to the Muslims is ministering to the Satanists.